Hi, it is May 20th, Wednesday, and we are entering Taurus, we're leaving Taurus and entering Gemini. So, welcome to Gemini season. I've been talking with Spirit. Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are. Oops, I'm dropping cards. I was talking with Spirit about what to talk about. You know, doing readings and with the cards is like just maybe a third of what I do, right? So I feel like ultimately I'm a guide and a teacher. And so there's things that I ultimately want to be able to give to people, to be able to implement into their daily routines and daily lives to help manage everything, right? From a spiritual perspective. And then also from a mental health perspective. So one of the things that Spirit said, and I know that this is happening astrologically as well, is there's some interesting aspects. Remember, I'm not an astrologer, but I like to geek out on it. And we're concerned about mental health this week. So if you or a loved one, or reach out to your friends that you think, maybe need, just to say hello and ask how people are doing. And then if you yourself are feeling, anxiety or extra stressors, or maybe feeling in a loop of frenetic energy, be mindful to reach out and be able to talk to people about it, vent to someone, send me a DM, ask people for help. Sometimes we get caught up in the idea that we need to be independent. And I think it's important for all of us to make sure that we're checking in with ourselves and then making sure that we're checking in with others. So that was the first thing that Spirit wanted. And then I wanted to share with you something that happened with me this last week. I got a DM from someone on Instagram, and I'm curious if any of you have experienced this yourself. It's from a person who told me that there's an African god, and I don't remember the name of the actual god, because I deleted the DM part of it, and then I actually saved it because I wanted to share it with you. In regard to telling me that I was a chosen star, and that they were told to tell me this, right? So I recognize and know that most of these types of people that reach out are wanting money, right? So I took the hook. And I said, well, what are you talking about? And they said that I was the star, and that in my family lineage, but that money has been held back from me, and prosperity has been held back from me because of something that happened in my family. So then I said, I'm not interested, because basically what they were telling me was that these people, because they're connected to, there's a high priestess energy or something. And I'll read to you verbatim what was said, because I think it's important that people hear what people are talking about and that you don't get hooked into it. So they tell me that I need to, that there needs to be some release thing that happens, right? And I say, I'm not interested. So they continue to DM me saying, I'll advise. They're saying that they will advise me. You stay calm and listen, my dear. I am an Ifa priest from Orioluma Adabaya Temple here in Ogun State, Nigeria. So this is from someone who is a priest in Nigeria that's telling me that I have to work with them in order for me to be able to be the star that I am. But then, listen, he takes it, or he or she, I'm not sure, right? Takes it a step further and says, it reveals to me that one of your grandparents had a covenant with an ancient deity and did not keep to his end of the bargain. But right now they are after you. Okay, and he's telling me, this person, I don't know who it is telling me that there is somebody these deities are after me. Okay? Great, because there's not enough shit going on. Now I got deities after me, right? Okay, so because my grandparent didn't keep his side of the bargain, right? So then it says, but right now they are after you, and if you do not break out of this, it will eat you. It will eat from you slowly until you lose all you have and maybe your life. This will go on with your children and your generation to come. It chooses you because you have the brightest star and destiny among your family. Okay. So this person is telling me that this deity, this energy is going to eat me slowly unless I connect with them and have it removed. Now, if we recognize that that's obviously not true, but then there's this idea of, well, hold on a minute. If I'm Stacy Justice and I'm doing this spiritual work and I believe in all of these things, then why wouldn't that be true, right? Then why wouldn't I need to go, oh shit, there's something after me. I better, hook up with this person. So now I connect. This is where discernment comes in and where sovereignty comes in. And sovereignty's been a big word and discernment's been a big word of this year, 2020, because, and it's also the age of Aquarius. The age of Aquarius is question everything, okay? Sorry, Edith wants to get up. Oh, hold on. Question everything. So when we question everything, it's important to understand that means with discernment. It doesn't mean questioning in regard to, being an asshole or being negative or being, just being precocious, right? Questioning in a discerning way or in a curious way. One of the people that I really align with is Albert Einstein. And that's what he did. He questioned everything, but he didn't question everything. He questioned everything from a scientific standpoint. And that's what I'm saying. And this is actually, let's say, intuitive science. So I have to now recognize that this person is trying to trigger fear in me to elicit money. So, and they're telling me also too in this DM, remembering people who have, if you check in as you're moving through this, rewatch this when I post it so you understand the entire story, because I don't want to keep repeating, but understanding that if I don't connect with this supposed person, they're telling me if I don't connect with them, and they're in Nigeria and they're a priest, that this deity is going to eat away at me slowly. Okay, so that's fear triggering and fear mongering. And if I don't have my own discernment, then I will, then I could buy off on that, right? And then I'm running around in this idea of fear all the time. Because definitely, from an instinctual standpoint, as a, the person that I am and being in the situation that I am in, of course that would trigger fear if I wasn't connected spiritually. So this is a call to connect more deeply and more connect spiritually more deeply within yourself so that you can discern. So now if I decide that I believe that there was someone in my family lineage, one of my grandparents, that actually made they say that there was a covenant with an ancient deity and that my grandfather didn't, or one of my grandparents didn't keep to their side. Well, if I go, that could be a possibility. I don't know. That could be a possibility. Then I can actually do the work. I can release. So I can specifically say, if there is universe, spirit, God, the deities from above, all that is, if there is a connection that I have that's keeping me from my greater good and keeping me from being this star, then I release that now and let that go and recognize that that karma is cleaned up. And how I clean up that karma, quote unquote, is also through being my authentic self. So not to be afraid when people, if someone's reaching out to you and telling you that you're a star and that the reason why you haven't, but it's holding you back. And if you don't do this, you could die. Please don't believe them. That's a technique. And I've had that happen a lot before. Or I'll have someone that will reach out, a psychic reader that will reach out and say, that spirit guided them to me and that they'll do a 15-minute reading, right? And then within the first 5 minutes, they're telling me that I have something connected to me and they need to light candles in order to release it. All of that stuff, you guys, please be discerning with that kind of stuff, because you have your own sovereign power. What I'm here to do is to help guide that, right? And that the goal, I believe, or I feel that a light worker, quote unquote, or a spiritual guide or a spiritual counselor, that their ultimate goal is to get the clientele or the people that are coming to see them to have so much understanding and practice with connecting with spirit through the guidance that they're able to do it themselves. So that's my prayer for you, is that you're connecting internally, you're connecting spiritually, you're continuing to do your work and whatever that looks like for you. And find ways, and you can even say to spirit, guide me to what works best for me. I did that when I became a hypnotherapist. I was doing tarot card readings over the phone. I was on a psychic hotline. I called that psychic boot camp. That was actually one of the greatest trainings, because I had to learn to read really quickly. But I didn't like the idea of this feeling of codependency. I when I connect with people, I always think, you have this ability as well. I just happen to practice it more and hone this intuitive skill, and recognizing that cards are a bridge, to that. So I decided, I was listening to this it wasn't actually a podcast, it was a recording from Hay House about past life regression. And I decided that's what I want to do. I want to help people get deeper and to recognize that through past lives that we can actually also heal this life on a lot of levels. And so I just went down the rabbit hole of Googling past life regression training, and I found that there was a hypnotherapy school that was actually like 5 miles from my house. So then I made the decision to become a hypnotherapist, because always people had told me, you should be a counselor. And I didn't want to go through that whole MFT kind of jumping through the bureaucratic hoops, and through doing hypnotherapy class. And I had a great experience, and it was a year-long program. If anybody's a hypnotherapist and they've only taken a weekend course, I would question that as well, because it's definitely a technique, and there's a lot that goes along with it, and understanding behavior and those kinds of things. So anyway, so that brought me to this culmination of being a spiritual intuitive with the cards, which was what I started with, and then also the hypnotherapy, so understanding the behavior, and again, going back to the idea of discernment. Okay, so I found my way through, and your job for you now, more than ever, is to find your way through to how you connect more deeply. Because as we're moving into this, the rest of the year, and as we're moving into, the rest of our lives, there's going to be a lot of kooky stuff happening. A lot of information, overloads of information. And the only way that you're going to have sanity and sovereignty is through discernment, right? The only way that you're it has to be spiritual. I have a friend that we were chatting, and this was right when COVID hit, and everybody's, it's nice that we're sort of out the other end of it on some level right now, that we can kind of see some hindsight, right? But at that point, there was no hindsight. And he said, this is survival of the fittest. And what I say is that it's survival. Yes, meditation is a perfect way to connect with that spiritual space. Survival of the spiritually fittest, of the emotional, mental, spiritual body. That's where the fitness needs to lie, and fittest. So, are you fit? Are you fit? How do you get fit? Through meditation, through connecting with people like me that have lives and that you can learn things from, through whatever feels good to you. That's what I would say. Like I dig philosophy. I dig astrology. I dig behavioral therapy. I've been kind of going down a rabbit hole of narcissistic tendencies, so I can, understanding behavior of narcissists and how they operate. So anything that you get off on that fills up your I really want to know more about that, follow that path, because we recognize that each choice takes us to another choice, right? So that's the big theme that Spirit's been talking about, for now and moving forward, discernment. And if anyone is trying to tell you something that you need to go through out of fear, like again, this thing that I got in this DM, and I appreciate this happening so that it could be this a sharing moment, right? Don't believe it. It's not true. I do not believe, again, if that was something that happened in some, realm that one of my grandparents did that, I don't believe that that's something that can harm me, because the only thing that can harm me is what I believe to be true can harm me. And I'm not choosing to believe that that's true. I have a beautiful life, and I'm not going to take away my my joy or my sense of security or safety or what I've established in my life by some random person that's telling me that this, if I don't give them money, basically, right? So please, if that's happening for you, do not buy into it, okay? You've got to trust yourself first. So it's so cute because here I feel like I'm like the teacher because I even have my notes because I was asking Spirit what we want to talk about. Another thing is minding your business. Anybody who has been around for a while may have watched, do you remember Bewitched, Mrs. Kravitz? So, and it was as soon as I got that download from Spirit to talk about minding your business, I saw the image of Mrs. Kravitz. And Mrs. Kravitz was the lady that was always peeking out the window and checking out what was going out on across the street. And obviously she was always checking out what was happening with, Bewitched. I can't remember her name right now. But anyways, so that energy, you've got to mind your business. Peeking out and checking on other people and, it's one thing to check it out, right? It's another thing to sit and wait for something. And that was Mrs. Kravitz's energy. She was waiting for something for Samantha to do, right? Because Samantha was the witch and she, of course, she was trying to catch her at something. If you're watching others, now this doesn't, if they could be neighbors, it could be the people in your household. It could be the collective. It could be the people in your town. It could be the way that your legislation is choosing to roll out these phases, right? If you're like being Mrs. Kravitz, knock it off, because it's not serving you. It doesn't serve you to be, concerned about others, and especially in a judgmental way. So check yourself, because first of all, it's a huge waste of energy. And second of all, when we have this vibration of judgment towards others, or of, they should be doing it that way. They should be doing it this way. Why are they doing it that way? Well, why? They should be doing it the way that I'm doing it. When we're in that energy, we're doing a disservice to ourselves, and we're doing a disservice to the collective. The way that we move into higher vibrations with the collective, the way that we come together, which it's probably going to be a while before we come together, but the way that we come together is through trusting that each person is doing their part. Instead of going, well, they're not doing their part. Okay, can I hold the vision? Can I hold the energy that they might be doing their part? And that my prayer is that they're doing their part, and that I'm going to do my part by praying, by meditating, by checking myself, by doing my inner work, by being neighborly, by actually, holding the best for them instead of holding the worst for them, or trying to find the worst in them. That's not going to serve me, and it's definitely not going to serve the collective or serve that person, that I'm judging. And ultimately, if I'm judging that person and I'm going, well, they should be doing it that way, it's because I think I know better. And so can I be in a space where maybe I don't think I know, if I know better, then I'm going to do better. And then my prayer is that maybe they'll do better, but it's not my job to judge how they're not doing as good as me or how they should be doing something else. And just kind of go with the flow of it, and recognize that the best thing that you can do in this time is to stay focused on self and how you're showing up. Mind your own business. And, I had a someone check in with me because I was absent from the lives for a minute. I was working on a project, and Edith had surgery. She's doing really good. She's right here. But so I wasn't able to do my lives. And someone kindly and lovingly checked in with me, and, and was worried. Right. And that's what happens. Most people worry. And so I responded and let this person know that everything was good and that I had just some timing issues. And their response was, that's great. And they said, I went to a space where I actually thought maybe something good was happening. Maybe Stacy wasn't being on the lives because she was so busy. So I decided to look at the good side. And I love that. I wanted to bring that up because there is that idea that we always go towards, we have this tendency, it's instinctual, but it's also programmed within us to go toward the negative. Well, something must be wrong. And can you change that to, well, something must be right? Something must be so right in their lives that I'm not hearing from them right now. Something must be so right in their lives that, that I don't have to worry. I'm no longer going to put my energy towards worry because I know that something right is going for them. And then again, that becomes minding your own business. So that was what Spirit, I'm looking at my notes. That's what Spirit wanted me to share first, and then we'll do some cards. And I've got Edith is on my lap. She's being needy today. So let's pull. So remembering that everything that comes into this, through these downloads and through my connection with Spirit and through the collective connection that's happening right now, that we take what works and we leave what doesn't. That's part of the discernment. So if you vibe with it, cool. If not, that's cool too. And so hold the intention of what you're desiring to know about. Remember, these readings are a little bit more collective, but of course they will be, they may be pointed towards you if you're listening to this now. And so let's see what Spirit wants us to know. So I'm using the tarot deck first, and then I'll do an oracle card. Yeah. All right, let's see. It feels very quiet. The energies this week are going to be good. Oh, the Devil card comes up. Interesting. So the Devil card reiterates what I was just talking about in regard to making sure that you're minding your business. This is Capricorn energy. There is this idea that the devil can work for you, right? That when you understand what the devil is, and for me, looking at what the idea of what that would look like right now, the devil is the monkey mind or the programmed mind of the old ways of being that no longer serve us. So, but the things that no longer serve us can be in service of us. If we recognize why they're there, they show up as the contrast, right? So the devil shows up as a contrast to say, look at what is no longer serving you and recognize how it can move you into what you desire in this new way of being. We are in a new world, guys. So if you're still spinning in your old ways, meaning if you have old recycled, not recycled, but it is a form of recycling. We're just recycling the old things over and over again in regard to relationship, in regard to career sector, in regard to how you feel about yourself. You have to let it go now. It's not going to serve you to continue that spin of the old things that no longer work. And you're the one who has to do the work. You're the one who has to release it. That's going back to Mrs. Kravitz. She's not minding herself because she's trying to find value through other people, through picking at other people, through bullying other people, for looking for what's wrong with other people, right? So that's the devil. That's Mrs. Kravitz. Who am I? Who do I need to be in the world in order for me to find my sovereignty and happiness? And then as I do that for myself, then that just ripples out, right? Do you want to ripple out that energy of that negative, Sharon Karen lady that they talk about? Do you know what I'm talking about? That she's the, the party pooper. Is that who you want to be? Is that who you want to be? Or do you want to be sovereign in your system? And sovereignty meaning that I'm only responsible for this. I'm only responsible for the energy that I bring into the room. And then as I walk into that room in that way, whatever the room looks like, this is a room, this is a virtual room, right? It changes the energy. So what energy do I want to bring in? And my energy that I bring in has nothing to do with the next door neighbor, has nothing to do with the way that, some other counties choosing to do something, or my counties, that's just information for me to recognize how to move through my life but I can still choose my energy, right? So which energy are you going to choose? And then let's get cards for clarification. Okay, so big endings this week, you guys. Big endings. So if you are in a space where you have needed for something to end, if you're not going to end it, it's going to end for you. And it's going to be painful. And so I'm not, that's these cards aren't like really lighthearted. What they're doing though is they're going deeper into the work. If you haven't ended what you need to end, if you don't do it now, you're going to feel this way. Like it's almost like to eternity. It's this, like I know that sounds super dramatic, but that's kind of how it is. Like you've known the work, you know what you need to do. So end it now. And if you don't end it yourself, that it's going to be ended for you. So get ready and be prepared for that. Okay. It is an ouch. It is definitely an ouch, this card. But what's interesting about this card is if you look at it, the swords are running completely down the back, right? And they hit all of the points, right? What the card shows is that, because this guy didn't just get killed. He got completely, his entire kundalini, his entire energy force field down the middle of his body is completely attacked, right? Is completely stabbed, which means that it's almost as if because we each have this, right? That needs to be completely altered in order to get where I need to go. Like I have to completely get everything out of my system. So that's to me also what this card is. It's a complete and total ending of life force, and not people aren't going to die. Now, in an extreme case, this could show up as we may see collectively. Like I know there was the other day in a little town next to me, there was a 5150 call. There was a young kid that wanted to kill his parents. I mean, that's what this kind of energy is. It's very extreme. So we may be seeing it collectively, but if you're experiencing that, obviously, if you're experiencing that, you need to get out. You need to, call the people that you need to call. You need to do what you need to do in a very swift way, because this is also very swift energy. I think the devil is also can be kind of swift, meaning because of the fiery kind of aspects. Even though it's Capricorn, it's still kind of, agile in its energy. Right, the Capricorn, I always think of when I'm doing this is because I think about the Capricorn shearing up the mountain. There's agility in it, right? And so that idea of understanding that it could move fast, so you need to be mindful of that, and are you prepared for that? The people that have been doing the work are not going to experience this in the same way. It's almost going to be like, I'll share with you, because I've ended some deep relationships. I started doing it in the relationships that I know don't work in my life. That have been codependent. I did major endings starting at the beginning of this year. So this has already happened for me, and I feel very clear. And I'm excited because I feel like my palette is cleansed. So that's, again, what this is also about. Cleansing the palette of the devil energy. Is that makes sense? Of that sort of lower vibrationary energy that can show up as mainly fear and as non-truths about yourself. That you're separate. That you don't deserve things, whatever those lower fear, jealousy, judgment, shame, guilt, anything like that kind of shows up as devil energy. And there's we need to end that. So there's going to be quick endings in the next couple of days. That's the energy of right now. And then let me pull one more clarification card to see what this is. Okay, so it's the Six of Wands reversed. So there's not going to be any good news. These cards are deeper. It's not. I just dropped one card. Oh, I dropped the devil. And so what's really interesting too about these cards is these cards are very similar vibrationally to that DM that I got, in regard to that you aren't going to get any good news unless you give me money. So things may show up for you this week that show up as things that aren't bad news or aren't good news. And that's okay. The most important part of when I'm connecting in this way and doing this, why I show up and give these messages is to say that whatever you're going through, it's going to be okay. This is a blessing. These are blessings. No good news for the next couple days. Radical endings. And what are you focusing on? That's going to bring you to the good news. Because there's good news coming. It's just, what do you got to clean up in order to receive that? It's like getting new furniture. You've got to get rid of the old furniture to get the new furniture. So that's what this is about. So don't expect good news this week, or good news before, like Saturday is what I'm getting intuitively. That next week is a better week for good news. And it may even shift, like I'll be here on Friday and we can do we'll obviously pull more cards and see what the energy is then. But for now, right, these days, these next couple days, and especially today, and recognizing that there's a new moon. So we're in a dark moon in Taurus right now. So we need to do internal work. So you've got to do internal cleaning, clean out your mental closet, okay, to get ready for the good news, okay? And then I'm going to pull a goddess card. It's so funny how she gets so needy when I'm doing it. She has to be a part of it. Okay, so holding space for what kind of goddess energy we would like to come in. Again, remembering, take what works, leave what doesn't. Be discerning in any message that you're ever receiving. And Anna says, clean the bad energy and be prepared for bright ones. Exactly. And hopefully, so hope. And I also want to say something about good and bad, because that also came up when I was talking with Spirit. Bad. So if we were to think, like I just pulled those cards, right? They look like bad cards. I invite you to take the word bad and release it, and take the word good and release it, and recognizing that, because we align with the idea that bad is okay, so that negative is bad, right? Or that shadowy energy is bad, or that lower vibrationary energy is bad, and that higher vibration is good. That's a judgment that's comes from ego. That's not true in Spirit. Spirit talks about the idea that everything is the same, right? It's just a shadow of, like, if you look at the moon is a really great example of that. That we see that when the moon is dark, it's because there's no light being reflected on it, right? It doesn't make it bad. It's just a different side, right? So, and we need both. We need the light and the dark. We need the shadow and the sun. We need the rain, right? You get what I'm saying? We have to have both. So if you can relinquish the idea of what bad is, you're going to experience your life in a more joyful way no matter what's happening. Because who decided that, let's use this example, that if my grandfather or grandparent made a covenant with a deity and didn't own up on his end of the bargain, who decided that? Who decided that that was bad? Like people use bad as a way to manipulate. You understand? It's bad if you don't wear a mask. It's bad if you don't social distance. Okay, it's not good, but again, you get what I'm saying? I mean, who decided this, right? So that's where discernment comes in. And again, if you can relinquish the idea of good and bad and recognizing that all of it is good, and I don't even want to use that word, but I become neutral in the environment of what was deemed good and bad, I feel way more empowered. And I understand the value of shadow. I understand the value of going through things, of having to say goodbye to relationships, of the pain of that. It's very painful. Pain doesn't equal bad, you see? So if you can remember that, because that's why we've been conditioned to run away from pain, to run away from things that are uncomfortable, because they were associated as bad. But that might be the best thing that could happen for you. That's the way to get you where you're desiring to go, is through the pain. And so if I can understand the pain, be with the pain, I don't have to like it, but I'm not going to label it. I'm going to be with it. I'm going to be with whatever the circumstances are in my life that I've created for myself, and understand if it's not something that I want or like, I'm not going to call it bad. I'm just going to call it contrast, or I'm going to call it something that I don't desire, so I can come more into what I do desire. Because bad, when you're talking about bad from a perspective of myself, then I'm labeling myself. Then I'm telling myself, you're a bad girl, right? That's those. You get the repercussions of that over a period of time. The mind is telling you, the voices in your head are telling you that what is happening is bad, puts a lot more weight on it. And then it also makes you judge yourself in a way that's not loving. It's not bad. It's just not what's best for the greatest good. We'll say that. So start to think about it in those ways too. And that will help you. It's very liberating. What I've noticed when I let go of that idea and I let go of judgment, and it's tough. It's definitely a practice, because we are so conditioned instinctually, and then it gets reinforced through our lives, through our patterns. So let's see what the Goddess Collective, the Goddess Power Energy has. This deck is Colette Baron Reed. I use these a lot. It's beautiful illustrations, and I like the way that she disseminates information. So let's see. And remembering that if you have a question for the collective, you can DM me. If you want, there's free resources on my website, stacyjustice.com. There's also a link in my bio. If you want, there's some meditations that I did that I put up that you can listen to if you need help kind of managing any anxiety or the thoughts that are running, and you want to give yourself a little bit of time to check in, go more deeply in your mind. There's guided meditations, and then I also do one-on-one readings if you would like to do a one-on-one reading. Okay, so let's see what Goddess has to say. Ooh. Revelation. And I'm going to say Lizzie. Revelation 29. All right, everybody just kind of take a deep breath in. You see what a beautiful image that is. The revelation and the understanding that I have the power in the palm of my hand. Right? That there's energy that emanates from me, and to have that revelation. So let's see what the teaching has to say in the book. It feels quiet. Lizzie, revelation. There are moments when synchronicity brings all the elements together for a flash of insight to rise up in you a glorious epiphany. Whatever was not clear becomes crystalline in an instant. It is as if you are able to simultaneously perceive every facet in a diamond. You know without a doubt that you are on the right track as deep understanding sinks into your very soul. In this moment, change and transformation take place, and a transcendent moment is offered to you as an extraordinary gift. Now, taking those 3 cards and recognizing that crazy ending, that deep ending, that maybe painful ending is what's bringing you the revelation. So they go hand in hand. The only way to get to the revelation is to have done the deeper work, right? So the message here is that this is the payoff of those endings and of looking at things from a different way. It says, now is one of those times. The Chinese goddess Lizzie, mother of lightning, brings revelation into your life with a flash. She gives She gifts you this as a result of all the hard work you have put into dismantling your old self and making space for who you want to become. So interesting how this all just goes together. This is a very auspicious time. So again, moving through the pain, what the hard work that you've done, those harder endings that you've done, and if you haven't done them, because you already know, if you're listening to this, you know what I'm talking about. You're experiencing this. You know what you need to do. You've been knowing what you need to do. And if you've done it, high five, this is where we're going. If you haven't done it, get her done, okay? And I'm saying that from the most deepest part of my heart for your greatest good. What do you want to experience? What story do you want to create? Now is the time. And this is happening astrologically as well. So it's very interesting that, this all comes together in an energy reading from me, who's not an astrologer. I'm kind of fascinated by how it all kind of works together. She gifts you, remember, she's gifting you as a result of your hard work and all that you've dismantled, making space for what you want to become. This is a very auspicious time. So I'm going to read one more, this is the alignment message. Sometimes life throws you a curveball and it feels like you've been hit by lightning. That card, that swords card, the 10 of swords, that's what this is, hit by lightning. So we recognize this, these cards are what brings us to this, right? We get that. So, and it can feel like that. Especially right now because the energy is so extreme, but just keep moving forward. Don't let it stop you. And it feels like you've been hit by lightning. Perhaps a romantic partner betrays you suddenly, an illness strikes someone close to you, a job you expected fell through, the new employee turns out to be a dud, or you get a huge tax bill. No matter what the subject, your task is to pivot and course correct according to the needs of the event. Even if you don't understand what's happening, don't second guess yourself. Some things are not meant to be predictable, and detours may be exactly what you need. Loss or bad news aren't the only options in this situation. You may have just been offered something you've always wanted, such as a proposal from a lover, a better job, or a chance to move. Your tendency might be to try to control the circumstances or worry you may not be prepared for the change. The goddess Lizzie reminds you that the great goddess will never give you more than you can handle. Your alignment task is to surrender to what is in front of you. You can do this. Your alignment task, I like that, alignment task, is to surrender to what is in front of you. You can do this. So that's what these cards have said, is that you've gotten rid of what you need, and now there is, it's scary, right? Because, and I'll, from my personal experience, it's scary to let go of those people that served me in some sort of way. And am I going to hold on to that story, or am I going to release that story so that I can get my greater good? And that's basically what this is saying, is that follow your heart, follow and trust your intuition, knowing that your greater good is coming. And it's not contingent on those other people that you've had to release. Because I know for myself, the people that I would hold on to in my life that weren't serving my greater good anymore, or that was just distorted energy, like neglect and manipulation and however it shows up in a relationship that's not healthy, that if I let go of them because they're providing something for me, am I going to have those provisions met? And Spirit says, yes, of course, your provisions will always be met. No, and it's not contingent on these particular people, right? These particular beings that are walking around in their three-dimensional reality, right? That's created this negative connection, this connection that doesn't serve, this connection that does in its own way bring up what needs to be healed, right? So how long am I going to stay in a relationship, stay in a partnership that I recognize is just perpetuating old things that need to be healed? I can't heal if I keep staying in the story that I'm staying in. I have to release it and say, Spirit, I am ready for more. I'm healing. I am letting go. I'm showing you through my actions that I'm ready to be healed. Yes. Okay, so that's it for today. I appreciate everybody. Yeah, Edith loves you guys. We love you guys. And we're holding space for you. If you have any questions or any concerns and you want to DM me, please feel free to, and check out the links in my bio for all my stuff. Okay, guys, I'll see you on Friday.